Yes, once again, revolutionary greetings, comrades, from wherever you're joining us. Of course, as usual, my name is Comrade Pigeon Odimu. Of course, I'm a coach of the class, and we have Brother Kwame here, who is a member of the class, who is our chair, of course, of the class. We don't have a teacher and students and the rest. We are all just here to learn. So the type of class we do have every Thursday is actually a different class, not a school where we teach people what should be done. But here is a debate or a conversation room where we believe all of us have the ability to think and share their thinking. We've been reading, of course, this book called Consciousness, which was the philosophy and ideology for decolonizing Africa that was actually written by Kwame Nkrumah. And he, in this book, he advised us what should be done in order for us to totally liberate Africa, totally unify Africa, and totally develop Africa. So the key main agendas or key purpose of this book is actually to help us come up with a totally liberated Africa, to come up with a totally unified Africa, and to come up with a totally developed. So we, in our previous classings and readings, we can say that we can construct a liberated, unified, and developed Africa using this writing. And therefore, what we've been doing is to check on the reductionism, or we've been checking on the elements that make up that liberated Africa, that make up that unified Africa, and that can make up that developed Africa. So we meet every Thursday, of course, as I've said, for 2 hours, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. GMT, to discuss and read this book. We read page by page, paragraph by paragraph. Sometimes even we spend only a paragraph and we do extensive discussion. And that's why I've said it's not a reading club. It's actually a thought class. This is a room where people only fill the space with thinking and share their thinking and understanding. So we've been reading, starting with, of course, the first part of the introduction to this book. We went out to the philosophy. And this is the first chapter of this book, which we are about to end. And we must remember that at the start of this chapter, Nkrumah put forth two key questions that we look forward to answer by the end of this chapter. And those two questions are, one, what there is, and two, how what there is. So there are two parts. And what there is starts from simple question: what is the universe made up of? What is it made up of? And we come across two conflicting ideas and ideologies, and as Brother Kwame said, there are only two ideologies. The two ideologies presented in this book is either materialism or idealism. So if somebody says that I have this ideology, all ideologies are sum up to only two. You are either an idealist or you're a materialist. And then we've gone along to check. Now that is what the universe made up of. Is the universe made of materialism position, or is the universe made up of the idealist position? And the idealist position believes that the universe is made up of spirits and ideas, but the materialists believe that the universe is made up of matter, and that matter is the primary reality, and anything apart from matter is just a derivative or a secondary, we call it a secondary form of matter, a derivative or a categorical conversion of matter. It can be air, space, mind, thinking, all those things are derived from matter. And these are the positions you have been in. And we actually been discussing, after finishing idealism, we've been discussing materialism. And Nkrumah has presented to us two conceptual tools, the logical tools and the scientific tools. And we've been checking about constructionism, reductionism, and nominalism as part of the tools. And Nkrumah then present to us that every categorical conversion, there must be a process. And this process now takes the scientific process. We must explain, for example, how do we mind? How do you get somebody minding from the brain? How do you get the difference between mind and the brain? So that's where we are. But without wasting my time, let me welcome Brother Kwame to welcome all members of Vision. Then we can start the class. Brother Kwame?
Yeah, thank you, brother, for welcoming us all. Yep, let's carry on. I'm pleased to see Carrington here. He's our resident physicist. That's his official title, our resident physicist. So yeah, no, thank you all for coming. Let's proceed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brother Kwame. So with that, then I will actually ask that we reshare, we reread the previous paragraphs, and then now we connect to the current paragraph. The current paragraph should be starting from the word I have suggested that, dialectic. That's where our reading starts today. But permit me to do a recap of the previous paragraph. Let me and add when, then Brother Carrington will read for us now the current paragraph of this class, which is I have suggested. Then we start our conversation and discussion from that paragraph I have suggested. So in the previous paragraph, in the previous class, of course, we read from the word. Let me suggest a parallel with formal logic, as you can see in my screen. If the screen is somehow so small, you can expound it on your desktop or on your phone, but I can be able also to enlarge it a bit for you to see it. So it says that, let me suggest a parallel with formal logic. An axiomatic formal system is said to be complete when its axioms suffice for the deduction by means of admitted rules of inference of all the propositions belonging to the system. If propositions belonging to the system are made parallel to items of the universe, if the admitted rules of inference are made parallel to the objective laws of matter, and if the initial set of axioms is made parallel to initial matter, then the completeness of the axiom system becomes parallel to the constructibility of matter according to its objective laws of all the supervening items of the universe. It is, in a sense, analogous to that in which an axiomatic formal system is, say, Gödel complete and therefore clothed, that the universe of matter is here said to be closed. And when a system is said to be Gödel complete, what it meant is that every non-initial truth in it is derivable from the initial truths alone by use of the rules of derivation. Hence,
brother, sorry to interrupt you, but someone's phone or computer's making a noise. It keeps pinging all the time. I don't know whose machine it is. It may be yours, I don't know, but there's a ping, ping, ping going through all the time. It's interrupting what you're saying.
Okay, let me check on that. Okay, you can carry on with some few from, as I try to check on that notification. I believe it's on my side.
Yeah, I think it's an app. I think it's an app on your machine that's receiving messages, and it's quite loud. Yeah.
Okay, it's sorted.
Yeah, sorry, I don't think it's brother Pigeon's equipment. I think it's mine. I have.
Oh, you're guilty as charged.
Yes, right. I've sorted it out. So
okay, great. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that to our attention.
Oh, you're welcome.
Let me proceed by finishing the paragraph I was reading. It says that, and when a system is said to be Gödel complete, what is meant is that every non-initial truth in it is derivable from the initial truths alone by use of the rules of derivation. Hence, in the analogy, every form or category in the universe which is not directly matter, must be derivable from matter alone in accordance with the dialectical laws of evolution of matter. I think now this brings the second question, what there is, and is to explain how that can be derived. But anyway, now, Brother Carrington, now our class today starts from here. I have suggested this paragraph because the previous paragraph we'll have to discuss the matters, just a recap to connect to where we are. So, Brother Carrington, if you are capable to kindly read for us now the paragraph which starts our class for today, I have suggested, please.
I'm sure that Brother Carrington is more than capable to read that. However, what I would suggest is that you've read it, we've heard it, but let our resident physicist explain it again so we are all on the same page. And then he reads. Thank you. That's my suggestion. Thank you.
Okay, Brother Carrington, with that rule, then, can you help us simplify the previous paragraph as a summary of what you did in the last class, and then now you can connect us to this paragraph? Of course, we refer to Brother Carrington because all this happening here, this evolution is more of the law of physics, and he can understand it better as a physicist, but we are also free to come in. So, Brother Carrington?
Yeah. Thank you very much, Brother Pigbin and Elder Christian. Yes, first of all, I'm not teaching. I'm giving my interpretation of the text. So this is my interpretation, and you can please feel free to challenge so that I also learn, and I'm learning a lot from this. So last week we talked about this idea of bricks and stones and cement and wood, and how you can use this as called primitives or axioms, and you can use these axioms with certain rules for building a house called the syntax of a logical system to build other structures, to build a house, to build a school, to build a classroom, to build a road, etc. You can use different rules, different syntaxes, different pieces of the syntaxes to use essentially the same raw material to build different things. What I understand Kwame Nkrumah to be saying, the Osagyefo to be saying, is essentially that this system of bricks, wood, and cement being used to build a house to arrive at certain results can be mapped to the universe, such that you have what I think what is called, Elder Christian will correct me, something like primordial matter, the atoms at the beginning of the universe, essentially, the energy at the beginning of the universe. You can use this then to construct anything. And the process by which this primordial, primeval, old matter is used to arrive at new entities, for example, human beings, is the process of the evolution, the process of change of the universe. Now, this change of the universe, as we will hopefully see today, comes from certain contradictions in the system that we already talked about last week. First, that it is a closed system, but it is Gödel complete, and Gödel complete is a very specific meaning, is a very specific sense of the word complete. It is complete with incompletion. So there is a contradiction here. And some of these contradictions are what will cause this system to change. And this is essentially what I think the Osagyefo is trying to set up in his main argument for the closing of this chapter. Thank you very much, everyone. And in case there are any questions, please feel free. In case there's clarification from anyone, please feel free. Asante.
Karibu sana. Now, let's move to read for us this paragraph, the first paragraph, so that we can open our discussion now. I have suggested.
Oh, I read it?
Yes, please.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I have suggested that dialectic is that which makes the evolution of kinds possible, that accordingly, which is the ground of the evolution of mind from matter, of quality from quantity, of energy from mass. This kind of emergence, since it depends on a critical organization of matter, truly represents a leap. When a crisis results in an advance, it is its nature to perpetrate a leap. This solution of crisis always represents a discontinuity. And just as the foundations of mathematics, critical numbers represent a break in continuity in the evolution of numbers, so in nature does the emergence of quality from quantity represent a break in the continuity of a quantitative process. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's do that. Let's do that brainstorming and discussion on this. What it's really coming out of this context. There's a lot of quantity, quality, and everything else. So let me start with. I'll start with you, Brother Kwame. Unless you are not ready, and then I can start somebody else.
Yeah, start with somebody else. Thank you.
Okay, let me go to my list. Let me go to Brother Joseph, then DJ Mr. P, then Pichau or Pichou, then Ras Spala.
Brother Pigeon, I prefer to pass. I prefer to contribute subsequently.
Okay, thank you. Let me go to Mr. P.
Yeah, sorry, brother. I'm gonna have to pass. I have to pass on as well. Do apologize.
This is becoming very. Let me see. Maybe what is making people pass. Let me check if the contents is that hard. We've discussed dialectics. Evolution is something also we've discussed sometimes back. The aspect of mind and brain, quality and quantity, energy and mass is something we've discussed before. So I don't. Maybe the leap is making an issue, but let me go along. Let me check other people. Pichau or Raspala, if you can share your thinking in regards to what we've read. What is your understanding?
Greetings. Well, from what I understand, so far is that, well, basically, just like the brother said, whatever is complete may not be, completely complete as such. It's just a word used, but it may be incomplete in a sense that, because of change and evolution, and constant change and evolution, things always, let's say, expand or varies or transform, depending also in time and space, according to the Yes, can you hear me? Yes.
I can hear you. What is?
Yeah, and so what we're saying here, in the sense that one thing we need to understand is that matter is matter, as we said last week, and pata is pata, and the initial of the source of all things, you could say, is energy, in the sense that energy, is everything. But then and it's like how can we say? It's like water. Water in itself, is the source of life, as they say, But within water, water has energy. Water has frequencies. Water has as water has a levity, in a sense, right? And so we that's what we have to understand, is that life is made of various different things coming from its source of energy, expanding and taking various forms. And not only that, but also you have what you call the energy is a frequency, it creates frequency, and it keeps moving. And everything that moves, take different shapes, different forms, and becomes other entities. And it keeps expanding because it's constantly moving and constantly vibrating. And so, but then you have what you call sustainability. And the sustainability of things is in our ancient, we could call it Ra, in a sense. It's which sustains things, but sustaining it in a sense that it grows, constantly, but also in a is sustained and is controlled, if you like. It has a balance, if you like. It has a balance that is sustained, but keep moving and keep growing and keep changing. and keep evolving, you know, not just the evolution of matter, the evolution of pattern, the evolution of energy, the evolution of life as a whole, you know. And so, and we also have to remember that we are living, you know, on Earth. And Earth, it's a tiny, very, very tiny portion of our, let's say just, you know, of our solar system, let alone the universe. And when we're talking about the universe, we can one may also say the universes with an ES at the end, or multiverses, one may call it as well, you see. And that's how our own universe expands, but also the multiverses keep expanding as well, you see. And that's what I mentioned last week. It comes from within, without, always from the source, and going out and coming back in, coming out, in, out, but keep expanding and growing and evolving and transforming all the time, and yet still being sustained, you know, and maintained in such a way that, we can walk, we can, run, we can fly at times as well, but yeah, I mean, yeah, that's all I can say so far. Sorry, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Comrade, for that. Let's go to Ras Pala.
Yes, my brother, please. No, I'm still observing, my brother.
Okay, let's go now to welcome new members of John, Brother Kwame Gonza and Brother Sister Myra, Sister Marlin. Feel most welcome. We are reading the paragraph on the screen, so take time to go through it. The paragraph starting with the word, I have suggested that dialectic is that which make the evolution of kind possible. So anyway, let me share my thinking a bit before I go to Brother Kwame, then Brother Carrington will come in.
Brother Pigeon, before you go, let me just say a little bit so that it doesn't appear that I'm waiting on other people to quote myself. I think from an imaginative point of view, some analogy some analogy can be drawn. For instance, a baby is born. But when the baby is born, it doesn't have well-developed pubic hair or genitals and so on, or breasts and so on. With time, though, those things emerge, and someone may say where this come from, but it was embedded in the individual, and in the process of time, with various chemicals and so on acting on each other, results in that. Similarly, I think the concept of the thought where you have the contradiction, where you have the dialectics, when it comes into play, it creates a new expression or a new form. So I think basically we can make an inference that everything that is needed in the universe is already there, but what is not always present is the manifestation, different expression or forms. I just thought I will add that, if it makes any sense. Thanks.
Thank you, Brother Joseph. To my little understanding also is that as I get from my understanding that dialectic is what
sorry,
is that which
sorry, brother Pigeon. What do you mean by your little understanding?
It's based on how you want to quantify it.
No, listen, your thinking is just as important, however little, as important as anybody else's thinking. So please, what's your little thinking? Just share your thinking.
Okay. As Thorben said, dialectic is what makes the evolution of kind possible. And dialectics to me is that what you call competing forces. What is like a motion or competition of ideas, or even of forms, transformation of forms, is what makes evolution possible, because evolution is change now of the physical form from one position to another. And that involves those forces that are internally competing. And that actually leads it. Like, for example, if you have to change cold water to warm water, there's a process of heat passing in between that then do away with either the coldness in water to make it warm. At the end of the day, we'll see the warm water, which is the product of the evolution. We can test that this water is warm as a product of evolution. But there are dialectics that are involved. There are forces, there are energy or things that are involved in between, then transform those particles, as called the axioms, that transform them from being a cold water to warm water. That is said that accordingly, this, which is the ground of evolution of mind from matter. So mind, yes, before somebody start, maybe as you from your brain, let's take brain being the primary matter here in the name of matter, then mind being the process of brain or the nerve system activating and working to come up with the either thinking or come out or form an idea or something. Then the process of that mind or that idea coming in, that I'm minding this, I'm thinking of this, that process involves the dialectics. Then that dialectics will transform the main physical organ of either the brain to something else that then assume the second or assume the new form of matter that now becomes the mind. For example, the quality and the quantity. The more you increase, for example, if you want to get more quality, you increase the quantity. Or from the quantity, you can tell whether it is a bad, a rotten apple, or ripe apples. But ripe apple or rotten apple is not actually something tangible, but it's something that can be formed. It's a secondary category of matter that can be formed out of a physical or the primary category of matter from a quantity. So once you want to get more quality, then increase the more quantities, as it says somewhere down there. And this kind of emergencies, it depends on the critical organization of matter. So the more you put more quantities of either the good apples in the midst of bad apples, then the total summation of that apples will appear to be good apples, not bad apples, because you increase the quantity of the good apples in the process. So if you put more critical organization of matter, for example, in thinking, the critical organization of matter in brain produce mind. So truly represent the leap. So that's where I understand it up to that side. Where it says the leap come in is, but of course, I'll be looking forward to see also the other people sharing the understanding to help me build my also understanding. So let me take it to, let me check who is ready before. Oh, Sister Myra, I've said, Sister Myra and Brother Gonza. That's why we're discussing. Once I'm from let me go to Brother Carrington, then Brother Kwame, then I'll get back to Brother Gonza, then Marlin, and Sister Myra before we move to the next paragraph. So let me get to Brother Carrington. Brother Carrington.
I don't know whether anyone wants to offer something before I say, because I'm still digesting a little bit, and all of you are actually saying some things that I think I can use to say something. So if anyone wants to offer, if no one wants, I will.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's go to the mathematicians before we come to the physicians. So, Brother Kwame, Christian.
Don't forget that Carrington is also a mathematician. Okay, so let's put things in context. What is this paragraph seeking to tell us? Now let's remember that from where we've got to, we have come to an understanding that idealism is not the philosophy that will help us, to transform Africa. Remember the purpose of this book. The purpose of this book is to argue out a philosophy and an ideology that we Pan-Africanists can use as a combative tool to take on the forces that will come against us, to arm ourselves against these forces like having a shield as a swordsman. All right? So that is what this for the whole book is going to arrive at when we get to chapter 4, and then it becomes mathematical in chapter 5. So this first paragraph, remember what we are looking at is we are looking at philosophy in retrospect. That's what we are looking at. And retrospect means you turn around and look behind you. There is a word for it in the in the Ghanaian language called Sankofa. I don't know whether you're all familiar with that. So Sankofa is a symbol of, I think, a geese with its head.
Look,
with his head turned
180 degrees. 180 degrees behind.
And that symbol of looking back is what is called Sankofa. And Sankofa literally means it's from the Akan language, meaning turn around and go and pick. That is, turn back and go and pick that which is in the past. Now, so philosophy in retrospect, if you like, is like telling us Sankofa. Let's go back into history and look at how philosophy has evolved up till now. By now, I mean the point in Flagstaff House in Accra, which is the residence of the president, where he has what we call a philosophy club, which is not a lot of people, maybe the same number as we have here, who are discussing with him like we are here and going through ideas and so on. Yeah. And there was a blackboard. In those days, there was no electronic board. So he had a blackboard and chalk, and then Nkrumah would write on this blackboard, and then those around him, Professor Abrahams, Eric Heyman, and others, will then get involved in the discussion. So just like what we are doing here, but electronically, because I am in UK, some of you are in Kenya, some of you are in Ghana, some of you, I mean, we're all over the world. Very interesting. So having looked back then, we've come to the point where we've now understood that idealism is useless for our purposes. Right? And one of the reasons why it's useless, Sister Mara can go into it, because she's explained it over and over again through solipsism. The idea that you think you are the only one in the universe, and then you become racist towards other people. In fact, you think you are the only one that matter. You think you are the only one that is important. I don't mean an individual. It could be an ethnic group. Like, if you don't mind me using the example, like in Palestine, where suddenly some people are human animals. But we are the human beings. They are human animals, so we can kill them. And so you kill 26,000 people, including women and children. That is idealism. That is a form of solipsism. In fact, it is complete solipsism, because now you don't even recognize the existence of other people, only yourself. Now, so that's
sorry, brother.
What's
the word that you just used?
Solipsism.
Oh, solipsism. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Right.
Comes from the word solus, meaning alone. So that's where we've come from, and now we are at a point now where Nkrumah. So having then laid the ground for us to understand that kind of philosophy, that's there's a hierarchy, and in that hierarchy, God is at the top, followed by the angels, and then Angel Michael, Angel Gabriel, and all those angels, and then human beings. Even amongst human beings, there's a hierarchy. There is a Caucasian at the top. After the Caucasian, then comes the if you like, what people call mixed race, but it's a misnomer. Shall we say people who are the offspring of both whites, of both black and white. What people call,
I think they come a bit further down, you know, brother. I think the mixed race come a bit further down.
After white, what comes after white?
I would say Asian.
Yeah, but the Asians, some of them are white. They are in terms of skin color. We're talking about skin color here. Yeah, with skin color, white is at the top, then followed by. So, in other words, from the top, from what they call white, it's not really white, but let's just say white, and then the shade becomes darker and darker and darker and darker until you have people like the Sudanese African who are really black. Yeah. And the idea is that the blacker you are, then you are at the bottom of the hierarchy. So there is this God at the very top. And remember, the God is white, yeah? God is not like you. God is white, yeah? Remember, his son Jesus is white, yeah? So he's at the very top and you are at the bottom there. And so idealism is to subscribe to that philosophical nonsense, if you don't mind me saying so. Yeah, because if you start with that sort of thinking, then you have decided that you'll be a hewer of wood and a drawer of water, and that you know your place, and that your place is at the very bottom as an African, and that you can never rise. Why? Because God has ordered the universe. And who are you to go against God's order? Come on. Who are you? You can't go against what God has
Ordained.
has ordained, has created, how can you no. Just accept your position and don't
stay in your lane.
Don't disturb us. And those of you who know a bit about our King Charles today, there was a black woman that was working with her, and she wanted to progress, and the king said she doesn't know her place. How dare she want to move up the hierarchy? It doesn't work like that. Anyway, I hope I'm not deviating, but the point I'm making is that the whole thing about that is that idealism is useless if we want to transform Africa. By which we mean that if we want to transform Africa, we can't accept that this hierarchy is there, and if you are more white, then suddenly you have kind of divine right to all the resources of Africa. You have to eat the best food. You have to sleep in the best houses. You have to sleep in the best hotels. Your children must attend the best schools because they are white. And then you have Africans, if you like, we send their children to white schools and so on. We can't accept that. If we want to transform Africa, we have to end racial domination. All right? And so if you want to end racial domination, idealism is no use. So here comes materialism. And materialism says that our universe, the primary source of the entire universe, is matter. And you can argue and say, Brother Carrington is here, you can share with us. You can say, well, that matter is dark matter or non-dark matter, because there's more dark matter than non-dark matter in the universe. Now notice how it's described. Dark matter. We know we are the dark race. So we don't understand this. Anything they don't understand is dark. Yeah, you can understand something, you say, well, it's
dark continent.
It's dark continent. Because
it's
they
cloudy,
don't understand.
it's dark,
It's cloudy, it's dark. Because you don't understand it. Anything you don't understand means it's in darkness. That's the idea there. So yeah. So matter is from matter we get materialism. And as Brother Pigeon was explaining, as I heard him earlier, he was explaining, Sister Amara, just so you know, we are seeing you, yeah? Just so you know, Sister Amara. So matter, from which comes materialism, is the beginning of the philosophy that we need. And that's what we are looking at. Now, in this paragraph we are looking at is now going further into dialectic. What is dialectic? It's not really what the Pigeon put on the screen. It's not about arguments where you have different arguments. That is an application of dialectic. The real dialectic comes from Africa. And that was the if you like, the framework where you see that the universe is made up of 4 contending conditions. What are they? They are air, which is a gas. Then there is earth, which is solid, and then there is
liquid.
There is liquid. There is water, the sea water river, which is liquid, and then finally there is fire, which is plasma. So, for instance, the sun is fire, as you know. So these are the 4 basic elements of our universe. And the idea from our own forefathers, it was from them that this came. They said that these 4 things are always contending. So for example, fire can burn water, but if there's more water, it can turn off the fire. Yeah, and so on. So you have contention. And that is the fundamental meaning of dialectic. Now there is a cultural symbol that our great grandparents had, which also symbolizes dialectic. And you may have heard it before, or I'm sure you've come across it in your cultural idioms. And it is a crocodile with one stomach but two heads. And I'm sure you've seen that. And that symbolizes dialectic. You've got two heads all fighting over the same food, and yet it's going to one stomach. So all that to say that dialectic is from us, and that is what this dialectic is. So what does it mean? It means that anything you see looks like it is a unity, but actually within it is opposition. So negative, positive. So if you look into the atom, as Brother Carrington will explain to us if you want, you have the atom has protons which are positively charged, and it's got electrons that are negatively charged. And these are contending within the atom. Now, the force that is holding those atoms is very, very powerful. And from that, as you know, came nuclear weapons or nuclear bombs, because that is where you actually split the atom, and then you release a force that is holding the protons, neutrons, and the electrons. So everything we see has within it contention. And the point is that out of that contention comes progress, comes development, comes transformation. So when you put cold water on fire, and then you put cold water and you put fire under it, the fire, which is heat, gets the atoms of the water to start vibrating. And as they vibrate faster and faster and faster, you get motion. That is motion. And that is what the heat does. That's what heat is. Hot water basically is the atoms of the water which are moving very, very fast. You can go in the opposite direction, where when it gets to 0 degrees, it freezes. Becomes solid. So you can see now that we are in the realm of science. We're in the realm of logic. And that is how we can transform our continent. We can't transform our continent based on a hierarchy that doesn't help us. You understand? And those of you who are Christians, you know that in the Bible, there was a point where God decided to kill all the Israelites because they were stubborn. They never listened to him. He was angry and he wanted to just destroy them all. And then Moses stepped in and said, if you destroy them, people will say that you're not powerful enough to lead them to the promised land as you had promised. So please don't do that. Please, it's in the Bible. Now, so according to the Bible, God listened to what Moses had to say, and God did not destroy the Israelites. However, he decided that all those people who never listened to him, stiff-necked and stubborn, that they will never see the promised land. So what did God do? So he made them to roam and go round and round and round in the wilderness until all of them died. And it is their children who went to the promised land. The point I am making is that even if it is God that has created a hierarchy that does not support us, it doesn't mean we should pray and ask God to keep us in our place, as some people pray. And in some of the songs Christians sing, it's as if they're not thinking about what they are singing about. Some of the songs, the songs, that, take me, I don't have a will, just use me. You can't, it sounds good, but that kind of prayer is not going to help you move anywhere, and so on and so forth. So what I'm saying is that now we've come to dialectic. We're now in the realm of science and logic, and that is how we can transform the continent. You can pray all you like. There's going to be no road built from South Africa to Ghana. Yeah, no angels are going to come from anywhere to construct routes for us. Please, you can pray till Jesus comes, if I may put it that way. It will not happen. The only way we can build roads, build water systems, build houses, rebuild a continent, use our resources is through science and logic. And this is where we are at right now. And that is the dialectic. So Nkrumah is saying, I have suggested that dialectic is that which makes the evolution of kinds possible. And that is true, because out of the contention between negative and positive comes new things. And in philosophy, it is also called, some would say Marxism, if you like. It's also called thesis, antithesis, and out of the contradiction or the opposition of thesis and antithesis comes something new called synthesis. So synthesis, which is a new creation, a new thing, a new category, comes out of the contention between thesis and antithesis. Now, thesis is a current condition. The antithesis are in the current condition, but they emerge to oppose the current conditions, and out of that opposition comes new things. So we had colonialism controlling the continent. Then we had the Pan-African fathers and mothers came, and then they opposed colonialism. They opposed it. The idea was that out of that opposition will come a new Africa, and magazines were created called New African. The New African, who will now express the African personality and begin to develop the continent. Unfortunately, as you may or may not know, when the opposition came, given time, negative forces overwhelmed positive forces. So then what we had is new colonialism instead of the free, independent, united, and developed Africa. So it is our responsibility to share this philosophy, this ideology, so that we can have a leadership that can lead the continent. We are not expecting all Africans to be awake before things will change. All you need is a critical mass of Africans who are prepared to serve, to sacrifice, and to suffer for the continent. You know, that's what we call the 3 S's, the circle. If we can get a critical mass of Africans who are prepared to be part of the circle of service, sacrifice, and suffering for the continent, in the same way that Jesus came in order to sacrifice his life so that we will all have life, as the Christians tell us. And yet some of them are not ready to sacrifice anything. But if we are ready to follow that, then we can transform Africa. Africa is not going to be transformed if we're all happy with the status quo. We all want to get degrees. We all want to buy houses. We all want to get businesses that makes us millionaires so we can enjoy in the capitalist world. If that is our mindset, nothing will change.
Thank you, Brother Kwame.
So I think I've talked a lot. But all to say that the paragraph we are on, basically, in a nutshell, is telling us that out of dialectic, as a scientific, thing, as a scientific way of looking at the world, is what will emerge new things. And that means that if we are going to transform Africa, we must understand that there will be confrontation. Brother Kwame Gonza is here, and he will tell you there might even be war before we can get the Africa we want. And war is another word for contention or contradiction. It's just that there are different levels of war. There is low intensity war, and there's also high intensity. Low intensity war may be an election. That's low intensity war. But even that, people get killed. And then high intensity war could be what you are seeing in Gaza, where there's genocide. That is the most criminal, if you like, highest, one of the highest. I mean, I suppose beyond that is nuclear weapons, where actually we all perish. So, in the nutshell, this is what this paragraph is telling us.
Thank you, Brother Kwame. Of course, you're pointing out the need to have critical organization of matter in order to actually implement the liberation. Right? But
can I say one more thing before you continue? So it mentions the foundations of mathematics there, and as you know, the foundations of mathematics are numbers. That's where everything starts from. Then there are different types of numbers in mathematics. So we have natural numbers like 1, 2, 3, and so on, and then we have negative numbers: -1, -2, -3. Now, we created numbers, if you like. Now, things like negative numbers can be used to measure how deep the sea is, how long, the quantity of or the level at which water can freeze or nitrogen can freeze, because all the gases can be frozen. You can freeze oxygen, even though it is a gas. You can freeze nitrogen. They can all be frozen, but they all have the point at which they cease to be a gas and then become a solid. That point is what we call the critical point. The critical point is a point at which nitrogen, which is a gas, suddenly freezes. For water, the critical point is 0 degrees Celsius. The moment water gets cold and it gets to 0 degrees, there is a leap, which is a transformation. Something that was a liquid suddenly becomes a solid. Yeah. And then also, if you take the heating of water, if you heat water, which is a liquid, when the temperature gets to a certain level, there's a critical point at which it turns into gas. Yeah, it turns to what you call steam. And that point at which it turns into steam is a critical point. Okay, and that is what the critical point is. Now, if you take the foundations of mathematics, another way to look at it is to say that, so if we have -1, -2 up to -infinity, and then we have +1, +2 to +infinity, we know that there is zero between them. Because for -1 you come to 0, from 0 you go to 1. But hold on, between 0 and 1 there's also an infinity, because all fractions can be an infinite of fractions. Yeah, it goes on forever and ever. So actually what you find is that there is infinity even within infinity. Or to say that, how come that if I am counting backwards from 0 infinity, how come suddenly I start counting positive infinity? How did that happen? And the answer is this: is when you get to the critical point of 0, if you ever get there, that is. Yeah, if you ever get there. Then at that point, numbers change from being negative to positive. That's what I wanted to add, brother Pigeon.
thank you, Brother Kwame. I'll come back to you at the end. Let me get to Brother Joseph, then Brother Carrington. Brother Joseph, hand us up.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, along with what Brother Kwame said, from an idealist point of view, we have a difficulty when we continue to carry the notion that we are born in sin. And the only way we can sort of have a meaningful life, that we have to be,
Saved.
we have to be saved
By the blood of Jesus.
Yeah, of course. So, I mean, we starting from a negative. We never even to show whether our confession and so have been accepted. And I think in terms of transformation of self and the continent, this is something we need to rid ourselves of. And it was those who really invented that were very clever in terms of ensuring that we were kept in a mental prison, because it is one of the default, if I should say that, that we live in form, and we must transform that. This thing must be eliminated from our consciousness. Because
Brother Joseph,
yeah.
Can I add just to what you said, and then you can continue. Brother Pigeon, I hope you don't mind. I don't we will realize that those who fought for the continent, the Pan-African fathers and mothers, that they attended mission schools. So it's not as if we are special. Yeah. So it can be done, as Brother Joseph is saying, it can be done. Nkrumah attended the mission school, where he was taught catechism like all of us, or most of us here, But so what Brother Joseph is saying is that it is possible.
Okay, Brother Joseph, can I continue?
So that is something we have to really work on taking care of, because there's a psychological side of it. Because even when we might use the logic, there's a kind of drain, a pullback, where we might not be doing. Yeah, we might be doing something wrong by trying to overpower that conditioning with logic. But you see how much work we have to do on ourselves. I just thought I'd add that. Thanks.
Okay, let me get to Brother Carrington. Of course, you remind me that Kenya is preparing for what you call a national healing prayer day, where, I don't know, a pastor called Benin, I don't know if it's from US or UA, wherever, is brought to Kenya to pray for the healing of our nation. It's called healing of our nation. So I don't know, we are healing
on
from
government money, mind you.
It's not government, it's our money. It's public money used by the so-called state house to organize the healing of our nations. I don't know what nation is healing from. I don't know, we are healing from sickness, healing from corruption, and I don't know what it takes to import a pastor to come here and organize a national prayer day for that. Anyway, Brother Carrington, can you proceed?
Yes. Thank you very much. Yeah. It is a contradiction, as we as we have talked about here. I just wanted to. I think most of what I was planning, or the analogies I was planning to use, have been exhaustively explained by Elder Kwame. So I don't think I will repeat too much. Only that there's this idea of Pichubule. I'm just building upon your idea, the patter and matter. So patter is a thing that matter does. Consciousness is a thing that the mind does. A city is a thing that societies do. And I think the point of materialism here is to remind us that these things are not ghosts. And back to Elder Kwame's position, these things are not ghosts, and this is the position of materialism. We are in control of the seemingly uncontrollable Nairobi city. It is a product of our activities. We are in control of our political systems. They are a product of we are the axioms of our political systems. And whenever these political systems come into contradiction, a contradiction or a dialectic, you think of it as a dam filling up with water, but does not have the structural integrity of supporting the water. So the contradiction continues. The water is rising, rising. The dam is straining until such a point where things get very, very critical, a point of crisis. And then the dam just breaks. And whenever you reach points of crisis, it is said that the situation resolves itself violently, non-violently, but nonetheless, it cannot continue. It resolves itself because it cannot continue. So this is a point, this could be used to understand as a theoretical basis for understanding the coups that are occurring in Sahelian states. There has been a lot of plunder by the political class, in addition with French companies, organized by French companies of these countries. But this cannot go on forever. It is the logic of the situation. The crisis, the water is building up in the dam. It will reach a crisis point, and these young Africans are going to get restless, whether they're in the army, whether they're jobless, they're going to get restless. They're going to get tired of sinking in boats. And this crisis must resolve itself somehow. And understanding that point, that there's an opposition of forces, forces pulling towards what you could call a better Africa for Africans anyway, and a better Africa for capitalists, imperialists, the bourgeoisie, the African bourgeoisie, the political class of Africa. These contradictions continue building up until they have to resolve themselves. And sometimes, as we have seen so sadly in our continent, these contradictions resolve themselves violently. Nonetheless, this resolution must occur. And now it is up to us, because again, going back to the materialist point, these are our products. It is up to us to decide how to resolve the crisis, how to take control of the crisis. Whether we will resolve the crisis violently, we will let it roll on and then resolve itself violently, or whether we will take control of the crisis and slowly by slowly reduce the level of water and reduce the intensity of the contradiction, or resolve the crisis, let the crisis resolve itself, but in an orderly manner or in a non-violent manner. I think this also can be used to just apply the theoretical developments of the paragraph. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. That was a good rejoinder, of course, to connect it to where you're saying. So thank you very much for that. Let me go to Brother Adi Anjola. Then I'll go to Pichao. Then any member want to speak after that, raise up your hand, please, so that I can call you. Then we go to the next paragraph. So, Anjola. Anjola. Brother Anjola, are you able to speak? Okay.
I've asked him to unmute, so hopefully we'll come back. Yeah.
Okay,
Brother
Pichao.
Pigeon, you still haven't heard from others. You've heard from Pichao already. We haven't heard from Mr. DJ P. I know he said passed, but he might want to say something. And don't forget, Osita Mara hasn't spoken. So
yeah, I'll go to them, but Pichao hand is up. So Pichao.
Yes. I just wanted to, Sankofa. Sankofa, I think, is a very interesting word. Is that we have to go back as far, back as possible to
Can you
learn.
hear me? Good evening. Hi. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm muted. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. We can hear you.
Can you hear me? Yeah.
So, sorry, who is speaking?
It's
Angela, no, sorry, he's gone. Yeah, he's gone. All right.
Pichao, proceed.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, again, Sankofa, going back, as far back as we can so we can learn and correct, what we have learned or what we have done or what we know or the mistakes, of the past. I think, we have to remind ourselves as Pan-Africans, that the Congo is the first human civilization, that is going back, 90,000 years back, and also let's say the Congo is the past, the present, and the future of not only of the continent of Africa, but of whole humanity. And so, we have to remind us.
Comrade, just to let you know, there's a lot
of background noise. Yeah, a lot of background noise by the way you are. It's quite noisy.
Where I am, you mean? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me properly?
Oh, there's a lot of background noise, so you can switch off whatever is speaking, either the radio, the TV, switch it off.
Hold on 1 second. You can hear me better now? Oh.
Yes, proceed.
Okay, so I was saying that the Congo is the first human civilization going back 90,000, 1,000 years ago. And the Congo is the past, the present, and the future. If you remember the Berlin Conference 1885, the main target was the Congo. Okay. If you remember, also what is going on today, the genocide, Palestine, all over the world. But we may, we seem to be forgetting what is going on in the Congo for the last, how many years. And the Congo has always been the main target.
Brother Pichao,
yes.
just to let you know, we are having this Saturday full session on Congo.
Yeah, yeah. All I'm saying is, is that we're talking about science and logic. Science and logic. Congo has plenty of science, material things, and logical things that the whole world need. And if the Congo is taken care, Africa will be free, and the whole world will be free, because Congo is the past, the present, and the future. And as Pan-African, it is crucial, to be strategic, into.
Thank you.
Brother, that is why Brother Pigeon has told you that what you are saying, we will address that on Saturday. So please, let's move on. Join the Saturday meeting and then share your thoughts, please. We need to focus on philosophy. Thank you.
Yeah,
Good
okay.
evening.
So
Good
the
evening.
philosophy.
Can you hear me?
Brother Pichao.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that I know you're from Congo. So please, any discussion on Congo, permit me to go to other people who are here who haven't spoken. But on Saturday, we are discussing Congo. And I wish and hope that you'll be there so that we share more about Congo. I know you're from there and you can give us that clear narration. I'll share the invite very soon, maybe tonight or tomorrow in the morning. So we discuss Congo in that context. But permit me to maybe hear from other people who haven't shared their thoughts in regards to this philosophy. Please, let me go to Brother Anjola. Anjola, then Kwame Gonza, then Sister Myra, Sister Marlene is here.
Okay, good evening. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm just going to say a few things and I won't be long. I'll be speaking on the dialectical law and also some parts of the evolution in terms of where I am and also how I feel it relates to some other part of the continent. First, it's important to really acknowledge that both sectors, private and public, have a share in the government philosophy of this. So we need to understand that when we are representing a loop, and building the foundation
Brother, we
of
lost
how
you,
we are
man.
making
Your
our
network is
business
bad.
or particular sector work.
Your network is bad, brother. Your network is bad.
Can you hear me?
Your network is bad, brother. It's terrible.
No, just try and you come back. I'll give you another space later. Just try on your network. Then you come back. I'll give you space. Okay, let me go to Brother Kwame Gonza.
Please, I pass. Please go to the next person. Thank you.
Okay, let me.
Can you allow me 1 minute, please? Because I was still on philosophy, by the way. I don't know, maybe I was misunderstood. I know I was talking a lot about the Congo, but I was very much on philosophy, especially Sankofa. If you allow me just 1 minute to finish, please.
Brother, you've already spoken.
No, I'll come back to you, please.
Sorry, brother Boulay, you've already spoken on the paragraph. In our class, we hear everyone's thinking, and we have to hear everyone's thinking. We can come back to you. So allow others to express their thinking, then we'll come to you later. Okay, but we can't be just listening to you. We need to hear other people. Thank you.
It's okay, Brother Kwame. I'll come back to you, Brother Pichao. Let me go to Sister Myra. Sister Myra?
I'll pass for now, thank you.
Okay, let me go to Sister Marlene.
Sorry, I came on late and I haven't been really focusing, so I'll leave it. I'll pass.
Okay, let me go to Brother Coco. I know you've come now. Do you have something to say in regards to that? I know you've just arrived, but I know you can easily grasp what is going on. The page on the screen, the paragraph on the screen. Brother Coco?
Thank you, brother. But allow me to, let this pass for now.
Okay.
I'll contribute. Let the brother from Congo please have a speech.
Okay. I think you'll catch up when you link the next paragraph to this paragraph. If you go to the next paragraph and then expand our discussion, you can come in and share. Mr. P?
Yeah, I'll pass, brother. I'll pass as well.
Okay, then let me go to now, Angela. If your network is better now, come in. Angela?
You mean Angela? You mean?
Yeah, Angela Ademola. His hand is up again. I think he's struggling. So, Sister Shireen, you've joined us now. Do you have something to say on the paragraph on the screen? Sister Shireen?
Not yet. I just joined. I'm really sorry. But
Okay.
yeah, I hope to contribute something. Apologies for being late.
Brother Angela, thank you. Brother Angela, you're not stable enough. I'm giving you the last chance before you speak, and then I can go to the next paragraph. So, Brother Angela, last time. Okay. Since you're having problem with that. So let's connect the second paragraph so
brother,
that many people can come in.
Brother, you need to hear from Boulay because now that we've heard from everyone, allow him
Hi,
to.
can you hear me now? Is this better? Is this better?
My friend, you are on and off, so I might not be dependent enough on you. Just work on the network.
Is this better?
Can you speak?
Oh gosh, he fell off again. Wow. His
Okay,
network's
Brother
awful.
Chow? Oh,
Yes.
Chancellor
Yes, can you
Welcome,
hear me?
Chancellor
Sorry, who do you want to speak? Brother Pichu? I am
No,
Brother Pichu.
recognizing the presence of Chancellor Martin, but Brother Pichu, speak. Your background is still having some noise, so kindly reduce the background noise, Brother Pichu.
Yeah, you've got a TV or radio on in the background. I think that's what he's referring to. If you could turn it off or turn it down, please.
So, Brother Pichu, kindly come in.
Don't worry, I'll type.
Yes.
I'll type.
Hold on. Let him talk.
Hi, Brother Pichal. I think I wanted to say that both private sectors and public sectors should be able to understand at what level and how the conviction of linear masses affects the organization which they are working in, and also being able to understand the foundations of mathematics has to do with the critical level of numbers of partnerships that are required in terms of the quantity and the quality in determining what kind of energy is brought out from people that are living in a particular nature, and also how they're able to resolve crises when necessary in terms of the aspect of nature and understanding the representation of what matters, because the dialectical law, which has everybody involved in one phase or the other, might differ. So it is important to understand that there are different kinds of possibility when there might be leap or there might be challenges ahead. So it is important to know when to break and also what kind of process you need to use to make things quantitative, whether easy or also in monodirectional direction based on the phenomena of such actions people bring in. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brother Angela. At last, you made it. So, Brother Coco?
Yeah, thank you. I came in as Carrington was speaking, and he made very good points, which made it easy for me to understand what was at play today. And from what I can see here, I'm thinking Dr. Nkrumah had in mind more or less what Marx had in mind. Marx was saying the labor, the masses, will one day rebel and take over what is theirs after being oppressed by the bourgeoisie, the bourgeois. For a long time, that was the belief that this will happen, and then it will happen throughout the world. Unfortunately, what has happened is oppression in Africa has gone at a different pace. It has gone a bit unnoticed. Dr. Nkrumah knew about neocolonialism when he wrote that in 1965, but most of his peers didn't know or decided to ignore it or decided to make as if they didn't know. I listened to Professor Pielo Lumumba yesterday talking about slavery and colonialism. He said the Africans, we have very short-term memories, and that's the problem. If we knew what was happening, then this kind of eruption will happen. But again, let me point out to a fact that he said it's not monodirectional. directional. The evolution is so confused, there's no explanation to offer. So it comes to my mind what happened when we had the coups in the 60s. Some of those coups were mostly counter-revolutionary. All right. So I think he's saying to the revolutionaries, plan for eruption for the revolutionaries, but expect that it might be counter-revolutions. Many thanks.
Thank you for that. I think you knew and started discussing the second paragraph, which is our following paragraph. But let me see if we can go to the second paragraph with Pichao. Once you've read the second paragraph, Pichao, you can come in, start with your conversation from there, put it into context. Then so I'll call you first after we start reading the second paragraph. I'll call you, then now you connect your thinking as you now learn to the second paragraph. Having gone round and round and round, and welcome new members of Just Gen now. I hope and wish that after we read the second paragraph, you can also be able to connect and come in and comment, because I wish that everybody share their thinking if they're able to do so. So if you all permit me, let me go to the second paragraph. Brother, let me go to sisters in the room. Sister Mayra, are you able to read for us the second paragraph that starts with the word, it is important, the dialectical evolution?
Brother Pigeon, I'm in a noisy place, so sorry, I can't read at the moment.
Okay, let me go to...
Can I read? I'm happy to read. Can I read? It's
Can you do so? Can you proceed?
Thank you.
But read very slowly. Don't go very fast. Read slowly.
Yeah, I'll read, no problem. It is important that dialectical evolution be not conceived as being linear, continuous, and monodirectional. Evolution, so conceived, has no explanation to offer, and especially it gives no explanation of the transformation of one kind into another, for it only represents an accumulation of phenomena of the same sort. Linear evolution is incompatible with the evolution of kinds, because the evolution of kinds represents a linear discontinuity. In dialectical evolution, progress is not linear. It is, so to say, from one plane to another. It is through a leap from one plane to another that new kinds are produced and the emergence of mind from matter attained.
Thank you. So kindly start by sharing your thinking and connect to what you were discussing before.
Yeah, so what I was gonna say before in terms of the philosophy, it was interesting, last week we were talking about the initial, matter, in the initial, being the initial of truths with an S at the end. And actually this paragraph, actually kind of confirms it in a sense, truth of the initial of truth, and what we've been living for the past centuries, it's lies and propaganda and, confusion. And also, propaganda is, you got some truth, but full of lies and full of, hidden subliminal messages and, and so forth, But when we go back to the initial truths in terms of philosophy, is to understand the art and the art, and science of what philosophy truly is, you see. And it is the initial of truths. And the truth is that we are, the center of the earth. We are, the civilization, all right? And we are the past, the present, and the future. And if we come back to the initial of truths, of the truth, we shall find ourselves again and return to our source and regain our true selves. and being able to protect ourselves and fight for our right, but fight in a very righteous manner. And the best way to be philosophical is to honestly, sincerely seek truth and justice. In a sense that, you see, we say knowledge is power, but no, the application of knowledge is what wisdom is, you see? So knowledge is only powerful if it is applicable, if it is applied, you see? And so the initials matter, the initials of truths, right? And as we're saying here, we're saying that, you know, evolution, so if so conceived, has no explanation to offer, and especially it gives no explanation of the transformation of one kind into another, for it only represents an accumulation of phenomena of the same sort, the same source. Linear evolution is incompatible with the evolution of kinds, because the evolution of kinds represent a linear discontinuity, you see? But we always go back into the same sort, the same source, all right? And so we as Africans, as Pan-Africans, we have to be very, you know, strategic and objective here. You know, is for if we really want to make a change, you know, and to regain our rightful place, you know, and it's nothing to do with power or dominion or anything like that, but we're just saying to retain and regain our rightful place, all right, and rule rightfully, you know, because the true ruler or true leader will rule with truth and justice and righteousness and consciousness. You see?
Thank you.
And so to finish off is that, you know, Sankofa, being philosophical, is to understand and understand our true history, you know, from the past, going as far back as possible, and our current geopolitical history and true history of Africans, not just Congolese, but Africans. And so how we can then unite, you know, and be a force to reckon with, but being united so that we can fight for our future. And that is where it is crucial to understand our true geopolitical situation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brother Pichao, for whatever you've said. And I'm just confirming to you that I look forward to have you speak on Congo issue, because I know you are, as much as you're not in Congo currently, but you hardly and mostly relate to Congo. So looking forward to your contribution in regards to applying now the philosophy into current context in Congo and how we can overcome this. So looking forward to that conversation this coming Saturday. Let me go to Brother Joseph. Brother Joseph?
Yeah, I think the paragraph helps us to understand the various tendencies or trends on the continent. For instance, you have in the Sahel, the folks, the boiling pot, the point of explosion or so, where the folks have decided that enough is enough. So they are seeking to, or they are sought to transform the situation. You also have in South Africa a beam of hope where the courageous EFF and the other progressive group like the Pan-African Congress, and mainly those two groups and probably some minor ones, they are stirring up things down there so that to give hope also. And but you have in East Africa and in West Africa puppets who are still trying to bring us backwards under this banner of what is called democracy, which I allude to the concept of linear, that you must do something in a certain way and not understand that leap takes the evolution of kinds. So I just thought I'd add this part, this insight, so that even on the continent you have different energy levels, different expression of dynamism or lack of dynamism.
Thank you.
I hope I've
Thank you for
added
that.
to the conversation.
Thank you for that. Let me go to Brother Kwame Gonza, then I'll go to Sister Shireen, then Sister Marin. Brother Kwame Gonza.
No, brother, I don't have any comment for now. I'm just listening in.
Okay, Sister Shireen.
I'll try. So as the brother previously said, dialectical evolution, is that, because I've missed so many classes and I apologize for that, is that to do with dialect and the evolution of that? Is that what dialectical is? Can someone help me?
Brother Christian Kwame can guide.
Sister Sherry, I acknowledge, yes, you have missed a few classes. And we explained, I explained the dialectics earlier, and Brother Carrington also did. Brother Carrington, use the dam analogy to explain dialectics. So Sherry, listen to Brother Carrington.
Thank you.
A dialectic is essentially a contradiction in forces. Okay, so you have a dam which is filling up with water, and by definition, there's a wall of concrete, of wood that has been put to stop the water. But the problem is these forces of opposition are not exactly balanced. And therefore, as time dynamically moves on and the water level keeps going higher and higher, the dam will break, and it will break violently. So this opposition of forces, and this is not the only example, there are more abstract examples. I think Elder Christian talked about the opposition of positive and negative charges, and this is what leads to the stability of the atom, and also the instability of the atom if you throw a neutron into a sample of uranium-235. I should remind everyone, and I'm sorry for pushing the entire discussion back to Congo, that most of the material that was used was exploded in Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1945 came from Shikolombwe in Congo. Okay, but the idea is that once you introduce an instability, an opposing of forces, the situation must resolve itself somehow. There are contradictions. Brother Coco has talked about the contradictions between the bourgeoisie, capitalist, industrialist class and the workers working for them. And this contradiction over who will get the rewards from labor sometimes leads itself to political resolutions in Russia, in France, and similarly in Africa. So these forces pulling apart from each other, pulling separately from each other is what we call the dialectic. So it could be opposition of ideas, opposition of physical forces, opposition of societal forces. And this is responsible for much of the dynamism and reorganization we see in society. Thank you.
Thank you. Are you a political scientist, brother? Or political scholar? Because I think that's one of the most eloquently explained.
He's a particle physicist.
Please. Wow. Okay. That was brilliantly said. So all I can say is that yes, I agree with all that the brother has just said. And where, for example, like if I look at it today, where they tell the African to forget about the past, for example, we shouldn't remember slavery. We shouldn't remember land theft. We shouldn't remember the death of our leaders, etc., etc. Yet, on a yearly basis, they celebrate Remembrance Day, they celebrate Holocaust Day, etc., etc. So, in my example, I'm just giving the contradictions that having a linear concept for one is totally ignored for another, which is in somewhere or other due to power. Does that make sense, Brother Christian?
Yes, it does. And if I may just help you also, because of what you've just mentioned, maybe I should mention that there are 3 types of motions in matter. There is the linear motion, which is what we are talking about here, which means something moving in a straight line, like a vehicle moves in a straight line. And there is the other motion, which is called the circular motion, like the earth moving around the sun. So that's circular. It goes round and round and round. That's another motion in matter. The third motion, which is the interesting one for us, which we will see later, is a change in the composition of matter. And that is where the transformation comes in. So when something changes its properties, that is also a form of motion.
The categorical conversion.
Categorical conversion, yes.
Oh.
Categorical conversion is also a type of motion. And the dialectic here is drawing our attention more and more to that. Why? Because that is what Africa needs. Africa needs a new, we need a new Africa to emerge out of the Africa we have now. And maybe I think, thank you, Sister Sheree. Let me take the opportunity to make my contribution, which is that some people have convinced themselves that Africa will never change. Africa will remain where it is. Some have given up on Africa. I remember I met a brother many years ago who told me that as far as he's concerned, the Africans will die off. And that's it. There's nothing that can be done. I looked at him. I disagree with him, but that was his view. And there are people who have come to that conclusion. But from what we are reading here, it's important that we understand that dialectical evolution, be not conceived as being linear. What does it mean? Don't think that what is happening on the continent was what will happen in a straight line forever and ever. Why? Because the universe in which we live doesn't work like that. This is what we need to understand. It doesn't matter whether you believe it or not. It doesn't matter. Your belief. If you put water on fire and you believe it will never be hot, you can believe all you like. The water will get hot. So there are forces, there are laws of nature. That is how they work. And there's nothing you can do. How many years did dinosaurs live on this planet? Do we know? This earth that we're living on has existed for millions of years. It is not 6,000 years, as believed in the Bible. Yeah? It's been here for millions and millions and millions of years. Do we know how long dinosaurs and their family lived on this planet? Yeah? Well, according to Google, if you Google it, it's 165 million years. That is a long time. So for 165 million, remember a million years, 1 million, 165 million years, dinosaurs rule this planet. But then what happened? They disappeared. The only way we got to know that dinosaurs existed are their skeletons. So the idea that imperialism and white supremacy and the racial domination of Black people somehow will continue and continue and continue. It's just a fallacy. The universe doesn't work like that. Because the way matter moves, it doesn't just move in a straight line. It is not continuous. Things will not just continue the way they are. It doesn't work like that. That's not how the universe works. And it is not monodirectional, which is the idea that somehow imperialism will continue to control the continent. There's nothing Africans can do. We should just give up. And that is all not in line with the philosophical and the scientific position we are reading here. And it is this kind of knowledge that we want to get out to our people so that they can have confidence in themselves. Because remember that the whole point of racism was that we have no power of self-motion. Now think about what that means. It means that you couldn't fight for your independence. You remain a slave forever and ever. There's no way you can change anything. Once a slave, always a slave, and so on and so forth. They denied that we had brains, that we could think. Yeah? When you are thinking, that is a form of motion. They denied all that. Yeah, what happened? What happened? What happened? So, please, let us have confidence in ourselves. And by ourselves here, I mean the matter from which we have evolved, we have emerged from. You know, let us have confidence in the laws of nature. Because, you know, as we will see at the end of this paragraph, the conclusion is just one line, which you read later. Our universe, you know, is matter, and it has its laws. And that's it. You want, yeah, you can scroll down and look at it. The last line of the paragraph, we can come back to this. The very last line of the paragraph, it will tell you, you know, that no, not the paragraph, I mean the chapter. I meant, brother. I mean the conclusion of every thing we are reading in this chapter 1, is in the very last line of this chapter. What does it say? Our universe is a natural universe, and its basis is matter with its objective laws. The laws are objective. The laws are not controlled by the white man. Sometimes they like to think they are, but they are not. They don't control the objective laws of nature. So I just want to end it there. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother Kwame, for that. Brother Kwame Gonza is ready, but permit me also to recognize the presence of brother or Chancellor Martin Seton. Maybe if you have something to say, you'll come after brother Kwame Gonza. Brother Kwame, then I'll go to brother Coco. Brother Kwame had notified me that he's ready to share something.
Thank you, Chair. What I understand from the paragraphs, the two paragraphs, what I think the writer is trying to convey, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, from also in addition to what Professor Kwame has just explained, for the Africans, and especially the revolutionaries who are at the forefront, to understand that these things are possible. And that is why he starts with explaining, of course, those things of matter and the spirit. He's just trying to break down what the world is. And in him saying that this process is not linear, is just to tell you that you can interrupt this process. And that is where, he's trying to look at, to show you evolution, that you just need to understand how the forces that make up the planet or the world or the earth or, the universe, what they are, and then you should be able to manipulate them. I'll give you an example. Today, when you come and tell someone that Africa has the capacity of growing very rich to the point whereby this continent can have like a GDP of around $65 trillion. Like somebody will say, wow, how is that possible? That is not very possible. But when you go and examine the materials which we have, you can see that it is easy to convert this if you understand the forces. And so this is what Nkrumah is trying to explain, especially to the revolutionaries who are on the forefront. And then he brings in this dialectism or the dialectical evolution of conditions or forces. I think I read somewhere where Mao Zedong is the one who explained best for me what dialectism is. It is like you have one condition, for example, you have one situation, but within that particular situation, you have forces of good and evil within the same situation. But you are constantly, as a good person, trying to control the evil forces. Like how they say that within the human beings, we have the good and the bad, we have Satan within, and then we have the angel side of us within ourselves. So you see that someone may want to do evil, but he controls it and say, no, I will not do evil. Let me do good in society. So Mao Zedong, he was explaining in his work how he was trying to control the society in China and manipulate the forces so that only the good can rise on top, whereby they should defeat imperialism. And he was saying that this process is not static, is not, the condition is not static, that you're going to get a situation and then you are in that situation forever. Like you have converted what Kuma calls categorical conversion. You have converted a bad situation like an imperialistic state, a country which is in an imperialistic state or a neo-colonial state. You converted it into a free state. You cannot be reluctant and relax and say, oh, now I've defeated the forces of imperialism. They will never come back. Or therefore, now it's time for merrymaking. You have to keep at it. You have to continue to fight to keep these forces at bay, at minimum, so that they will not overrun the new system which you are building. And therefore, that is why Nkrumah talks about get independence, consolidate that independence, and then start the process of reconstruction. Of course, all these things which we did not do. So Mao Zedong, for me, explained this very well, that they have won their independence and they are starting to rebuild China. And in that process, they understand that even if they build to a certain level that they have overtaken the forces of imperialism and brought them to the minimum, they cannot be contented. They cannot relax. They have constantly to study society, to study the conditions, so that they keep their understanding of forces and their forces of good on top, so that imperialism will not be able to overrun them, because it is always scheming. And therefore, he explained that concept that within, every situation has within the forces of its own destruction. So the good and the bad, all of them are in the same situation. So you can always convert these if you understand how to manipulate these forces. And this is what Nkrumah is explaining. And therefore, it is not a linear state, a linear situation that this thing is going to go on forever, like the body condition, like what Professor Kwame has been explaining. The body condition of Africa is not going to go on forever, like how some people are thinking that, oh, we have given up for Africa, it's done, it can't change. There's no such thing. So these things can be controlled, this situation can be defeated, and then Africa can be able to rise, just like how China rose and Japan rose. All these people were poor, were agrarian societies, very, very poor, societies. If you go back to China 30 years ago, people were riding bicycles, very poor, much more poor than even Africa, what it is today. So if you look at Africa today and you say it cannot rise out, when China rose out of the same situation, if you go to Japan, Japanese GDP after 1945 was around, GDP per capita was around $500. So look at where they are today, and they were farmers and people were bombed out and stuff like that. So I think this is what the author and the writer is trying to explain here to the revolutionaries. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Comrade. Thank you for, in fact, now your input, which is really making sense to me, and I can see the practical aspect of it. We are having 10 minutes to end our class, and then go to two hands that are already up. Let me start with Brother Coco and Brother Joseph Anthony.
Thank you, brothers. I think Brother Kwanzaa has has sort of taken most of the stuff I had in mind by explaining what is happening here. So I just wanted to elaborate that there is a change and then there is a transformation. I realize that change is gradual, but transformation is what is being discussed here. Is that something that happens all of a sudden? The abrupt eruption.
Yeah, Brother Coco, is it casual or causal? Which one are you referring to? Casual or causal?
I was talking about just change being gradual. I said gradual, not casual.
Okay,
Not
I had casual. Okay, carry on. Sorry.
Yeah. So by gradual, it reminds me again what Dr. Nkrumah said, that the African, his peers in the African Union, they were looking for gradualism. They were looking for things to stabilize before they unite. And he said, that will never happen. That will never happen. The world is not going to wait for us to sort everything out before we sort our house and then unite. It doesn't happen like that. Things are constantly moving. And again, going back to the linear factor, that's what Professor Kwame is asking me about. So that is action leading to a reaction. Action leading to a reaction. But in this case, they are saying it's not linear. The dialectical evolution, it's not only linear or continuous and monodirectional. So it means an action can also lead to an action. We don't have to expect a reaction from an action. There are lots of things which we have to take advantage of as Africans, as revolutionaries. And as I said, distinguish between just a change, which it can be casual, but there has to be a transformation. And Africa has never had its own revolution. We have been given, or we fought for independence, and we thought we had won independence, but actually we are shortchanged. So it's a matter now for us to use what Dr. Nkrumah was teaching us to bring what is ours, which is what the Chinese did. The Chinese embraced their Chineseness by taking out what was European and was trying to colonize them. We are being colonized, and we cannot continue the way we are doing and then think the same systems which are being used to colonize us will lead to us being liberated. We cannot liberate us with the same systems that are used to colonize us. We need to be aware. Transformation versus change, they are two different things. Then the causality is what Professor Kwame I just said, that is not just causal. There are lots of things that will happen there. There are lots of conflict on the ground. Let's harness that conflict. And let's not believe someone who says Africa will never change. I live with someone here in this house. She's always saying, oh, what are you bothering about Africa? What are you bothering about Africa? But no, Africa has a lot to offer the Africans, first of all, and also the world at large.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Brother Joseph?
Yes, to some extent, to continue where the brother left off. I said something some weeks ago about whatever we do, I think it was on one of the Saturday sessions, that we must understand, or we have to bear in mind that we may not see the transformation ourselves, but that we are contributing towards it. And I heard Professor Lumumba made reference to that in a clip I saw of him yesterday. I don't know if it's yesterday he was speaking, when he said that we must put all our effort in the hope. Maybe I'm sort of living what he said, but in other words, we must give our full self to the transformation, even though it may not happen in our lifetime. But not sit back and think, well, oh, it is overwhelming, we cannot do anything. Whatever we do, contribute, should lead towards the eventual transformation of our people on the continent. And in that sense, we must, and what we're doing here is very important, sharpening our perception, sharpening our understanding, so that when we go forward, there will be little doubt in our mind that it is possible for there to be change and transformation of the continent and our people's general welfare. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Chancellor Martin Seton, you can share anything or something you have to say. We'll be having a session with Chancellor Martin this Saturday in the morning around, I don't know, it's 9 p.m. GMT. We'll be discussing about Mau issue. So it's a pleasure seeing him around in the Demotivator show. Chancellor Martin, do you have anything to say? But thank you for attending this class, and we look forward to having you more.
I want to express and seek from you forgiveness for that I've not visited this interesting intellectual exchange prior to this date. It is truly interesting. Typically in these circumstances, I would want to listen and better understand, but I must say I'm encouraged by these exchanges. And what you refer to me as being a chancellor, I'm actually a councillor. Let me get that right. So no misunderstandings to my title. That's fine. It is well.
Apologies.
It is well. But I find these exchanges extremely helpful, and I've missed many of your classes. I'm particularly interested in history, to understanding how we found ourselves in this position. So, of course, the past informed the present, and the present would inform the future. And I would trust that has been reviewed and understood, both from a sociological and, of course, political perspective. And I'm using that knowledge to inform the future. And I've listened carefully. And I suppose if there was an observation I might make immediately, and I do understand the dialectic approach to social change and understanding the fundamentals that drive those changes. We speak of Africa too often as if it's a single country, a single ethnicity, but it's not. And that being so, we do appear, and I bow to the minds before me, we do appear to be particularly vulnerable to external influences. Okay, and we do appear to be particularly vulnerable to knowledge that we create being brought back to us in a form that overwhelms us. And the classic example for us, I suppose, is, of course, the gun or cannon. The cannon. But it goes on to, but it does express itself in our current societies. The fact that far too many of our intellectuals are taught here in Europe, or Russia, China, or other places other than Africa. As a consequence, we are heavily influenced by foreign thought processes and not unduly by true African, sole and exclusively African thought processes. I won't expand upon that right now, but I will come along to another one of your sessions. I want to explore a few other ideas that I wish to put before you all. Ideas that are designed to overcome ethnic and religious tensions that plague our mother continent, and of course, socio-political and class issues which affect our continent. Another time I will do so. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We started 4 to 5 minutes late, but we are now exactly at our ending time. Brother Coco, a minute, just a minute or seconds, if possible.
Yeah, what I have is very quick. Is that Pichu Bule? You keep calling him Pichu. Is Pichu?
Yes.
Bule.
Yes, Pichu Bule or Bulai if you want. It's up to you.
Thank
Pichu
you.
Bule. Mm-hmm. You're welcome.
Okay. Brother Kwame, can you end for us the class for today, please?
Well, just to say thank you all very much for coming. Councillor Seton, good to see you. Our fast
Thank you.
again. Yeah, thank you all for coming. We thank you on behalf of CSG, and we look forward to seeing as many of you as possible at the Saturday meeting where we discuss the Congo, the heart of Africa, and the future of Africa, and the past of Africa. Very important, as Brother Picho has explained to us. So thank you, and good night.